Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Christy of Kittyflips City. Did I say that right?
That works for me.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. It was fun. Yesterday, she reaches out. You think I could come on your channel? How about tomorrow? Yeah. So
Yeah, and I was very agreeable.
yeah,
So easy.
yeah, yeah,
Shortest booking ever.
yeah. I've been just so bad about booking people, so it just worked out. It worked out. Uh,
Yeah, I've gotten more and more bold asking if I can go on people's shows and talk to them
yeah,
and say hello to their audience. So I don't mind asking.
you have to.
Yeah.
You don't get what you don't ask for.
Well, exactly. That was something too. I did think, when I started kind of making my rounds, meeting new people on their streams and everything, I thought that I would be invited more often. So I kind of sat back for a little bit. I'm like, oh, nobody's inviting me. I'll just go ask.
Every once in a while, I'm just like, does anybody want a guest? You know, and then every once in a while, like I need guests, and then I get a whole bunch of people. And it's funny because like people like I could only come on like next Thursday. I'm like, dude, I just asked, and now like 100 people, and then people get mad because I can't accommodate the exact. Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, well, that was something when I decided to start doing a stream was, I'm just going to have a scheduled day and time. If the people can't make it, oh well.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to pre-record or anything like that. It's going to be
I,
live.
I pre-recorded a few times when I knew I was going to be out of town or something like that. Just because people get used to. Oh, John does streams Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays at 7 o'clock. So it's easy for people to break a habit. If I don't stream at 7 o'clock.
Right.
So
Hmm.
I'll pre-record something if I know in advance. But what I was going to say about asking, I just ask people to come on my channel, and a few people are like, well, how did you get like Mark Millar or Jim Shooter to come? Just ask.
It's
You know,
way easier than you think.
right? A lot of comic book people are, Jim Shooter wants to. He'll talk for hours to anybody. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And it's like the secret is once you get, like I say, once you trick one person, then you bring them up. Oh, I just had Mike Barron on my channel. Oh, okay, and then I just had Chuck Dixon on my channel, and then I had Jim Shooter, I had J.M. DeMatteis, I had Mark. Once I got Mark Miller, it's just like everybody's like, oh, can I come on your channel?
Oh,
So
nice.
you just
Well,
you got to trick one big name to come on, and then
well,
you got to make sure that they had a good time because you link that, like, oh, you want to come on my channel? Kittyflips was on it, and you show what I mean, having a good time.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Well, I've never thought of like working the angle of they had a good time, usually backstage, because I do ask. I say, is that fun for you? And they're like, oh, that was a great show. But who's really going to tell you that really sucked and
Well,
I'm
you can
never
tell.
coming back?
That's one of my big reasons why I like to have a camera and see your face.
Right.
Because I'm not good at a lot of things. Matter of fact, I'm not good at most things, but I'm good at conversation. Like I could, ever since I was like a teenager, sneaking into bars as a kid, back, in the way dark days when it was only 18 to get into a bar. You could sneak in when you were 14, and I would sit down and I would listen to the adults and listen to their conversations, look at their faces, repeat back the words, and you get good at conversation. It is a skill. So like a few people got mad at me that I was like, you got to turn your camera on because I don't know if they're having a good time or not. I want to be a pleasant host. I don't want it to be a dud. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
watch. I mean, some people want to watch two people antagonistically go at each other, but I don't want to be that host. So,
Right.
so you watch their face and you can tell if it's going good. And then some guys are, excruciatingly shy, and that's not their fault. They try to promote a comic and they just like, they'll tell me, John, can you just help me out? I got to promote this comic, but I'm not good. So that's when you see me talk, the whole time, and they're just nodding.
Yeah. Well, a good piece of advice to give those people as well is just keep doing it and you will
Yes.
get more comfortable,
Oh, watch my
you know.
first couple of videos. I my best friend said I'm not watching your channel.
Your best friend. Well, let me ask you this. Have you gotten comfortable with watching yourself back? Because I
No,
still don't like
I
it so
never.
much.
I've never watched any of my videos. I watched. I watched one video to see if I've improved. I'm like, okay, but I other people will tell me I improved, not me, but I can't watch myself.
Yeah.
My,
Well,
my friend made a fan film, a Black Panther movie, and I was the big bad guy. I was the mafia thug,
okay.
and we screened it, and I sat there like this. I didn't watch it, and people are like, "Yeah, John, they actually got like a T-shirt made with my face on it, all angry and everything.
Yeah.
My big line was, shoot him, I want him dead, dead." And I still, I don't know if I never watched it. I can't watch it. I that same guy, he teaches film and theater, and he makes pilots. He teaches kids how to make pilot episodes. So he had to make a pilot episode to show that he knew what he was doing. So we filmed the pilot, and I was the mafia guy. I'm always the mafia guy, and I think it was 9 years ago, and I finally watched it like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, oh,
Really?
yeah, and I'm like, oh God. You could see me panicking because I forgot my lines, so I just said something else. And nobody else would know that I didn't. But oh God, I can't. I'm getting embarrassed just thinking about it.
I wonder if you put like a decade between like the filmed self and your comfort level. Because me personally, I think if I watched myself 10 years younger, I might be okay with it because I looked hotter, I'm
Well,
like,
I never looked hot, so I guess I'm never watching. Marcus says he can't watch it. So Marcus, I'm asking you specifically, Marcus. You never rewatched those It's Clobbering Times? Marcus is always on with me Friday nights on It's Clobbering Time.
Oh, that's nice.
Is it on YouTube? Is one on my pilot episode? If you go to my channel, it's linked in the community section somewhere.
Okay, go digging.
Yeah, Plumbers at Large. It's terrible. Hello, all you salacious scallywags. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Barrett.
Yeah, yep. So, what's going on? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Let's see. I had fun earlier. That promo photo that you used of Kittyflips, my alter ego. I colored it today, so that was fun. And that's that character's first piece of fan art ever submitted. So that was exciting. Other than that, we are putting together a 24th edition, and my husband gave me the assignment of doing a write-up for a collaboration that we're doing with you're probably familiar with Madness Comic Network, right?
Yeah.
So the guys over there that draw stream all the time together decided that they wanted to do a collaboration with Flip City and asked us to provide a topic for them to draw on. And so we did. And so it was my job to do the layout and the write-up, introducing what we're doing there. And the first theme was women who love serial killers, basically. And
you met my sister. Given like if you put 1,000 men in the room, she will find the biggest legally in trouble person. Oh, I know it's bad.
I don't understand those women.
And she's got 5 daughters, and like you go to their house, and they're all in pajamas, eating popcorn, watching like a Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. What?
Okay, I am guilty as charged as well. I don't know what it is about us women and the true crime. It is just fascinating to us.
Well, I have to admit, once in college, there was this girl, and I am not joking. Me and my friend Cody were just walking. What is it called? The quad. We're walking through the quad, and this girl just comes up. Pretty girl, green eyes, red hair, and everything like that. And I'm not joking. I saw red like signals going off. Like I don't just, and I just said this girl is trouble, and she's flirting with Cody, and she says hi to me, and I say hi, and then she leaves, and Cody goes, "That girl is so much trouble." He goes, "I'm not telling you, not to pursue her." I said, "I'm not joking. I saw red." She comes knocking on my door room about 2 hours later. "How come you didn't hit on me?" And I was like, she goes, "You're the only guy that hasn't hit on." She was like obsessed because I wouldn't hit on her. And I have to say, it ended exactly the way I don't even want to get into the details, but let's just say it ended with me throwing all of her stuff into the street in front of a driving car, screaming like a madman.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure
And
she
I'll never
earned
forget
it.
throwing that suitcase into the road, and it opened up, and everything she owned just going through the air. And I was laughing because I knew how much of a maniac I was, and I knew this was the only way it could have ended.
Well, I've heard about those redheads. You
Yeah,
know, I
that's
think
why there's a line in my comic called
they're in the danger zone all the
yeah.
time, automatically.
My friend Brian he knew the reference, but there's a line in my comic book that says redheads make you do crazy things. It's just like a theme with all my friends.
Right. Okay,
But yeah,
so it's not.
the point being is that my sister, I'm just as bad as my sister.
Okay, did your wife hear that?
She's a redhead too.
Oh, gotcha. See, I didn't know that was the effect of redheads on men, though.
Yeah.
That they just make them crazy as well. I didn't know that.
I just want to answer this. The Black Panther fan film, it was on the internet, but Dan took it off the internet because he's embarrassed by it for whatever reason. And he has an Iron Fist. And I was supposed to be the bad guy in the Iron Fist fan film, but my cousin died that day, so they swapped out. I couldn't make it. I had to go to a funeral. So she didn't die that day. It was just the day of the funeral. So there was that, and that was the last thing he ever made. But no, and he won't not put it on. He gave me a DVD of it, and I can't find it because I'll put it on the internet. But there you go. So as you were saying, you were talking about women who love serial killers, and then I went off on a crazy story.
Oh yeah, no, it's basically our first collaboration that we did with the Madness Drawstream people, and it's all placed. The write-ups are out, and it's been a really fun project, and we're going to do it with them quarterly with the publication of the magazine. So the next theme is basically the reflection. It's basically a magic mirror that reflects back to any kind of well-known person or celebrity, reflects back to them their true essence. So we're giving the artists an opportunity to kind of take the shit out of any celebrity that they don't like very well. And that'll be in volume 25.
Okay. And that's this Flip City magazine?
Yes, flipcitymag.com.
Okay. And it's also on Fund My Comic?
It is I think what we're doing with the crowdfunding, because we haven't done crowdfunding since the beginning. We just started with volume 18 and try to get a crowdfund out for every volume, which is quarterly. So what we decided to do with crowdfunding is do a down and dirty 30-day campaign every 3 months. And that's what we're doing right now for volume 24, which should be going to print the first week of April.
Okay. I'm just going to bring up your one of the links that you just show everybody.
What's up, Shadow Punk?
Let me know in the chat if you could see this, because it seems like last night I thought I was showing stuff and it wasn't. So tell us about Flip City. What
it is? Hold on. So Flip City Magazine's a comic satire magazine like Mad and Cracked were back in the day. If there were any time in history that a satire magazine doing cultural commentary was needed, it was right now. So in 2020, we launched with volume 1, and we're lucky enough to garner the attention of a couple of kind of bigger YouTubers and started building our audience that way. We didn't even know if it was going to be a print magazine at first until we tested it with our first little group of readers that were coming over and buying. And about 95% of people were choosing the physical magazine over the digital. And since then, we've always been in print. It is very, very, very funny. And basically, if there's anything about culture that or politics or entertainment that really, really bug you, it's likely we're going to make you laugh because we kind of take the shit out of all that stuff, just like the old satire magazines used to do. But I think we're even a little more savage. Jay Dyer called us advanced. It's like Mad Magazine, but advanced. And Mike Barron loves it.
Yeah, Mad Magazine was for grade school kids. You know,
That's what people say, but there was like nudity and stuff in it, wasn't there?
not Mad Magazine. No, there was no
Not in
nudity.
Mad?
No,
Okay.
you think of the National Lampoon? There was no
Okay, maybe I am.
Yeah, but Mad Magazine was what I liked. It was for little kids, but adults could get it. You know, it was
Right.
like but like Bugs Bunny. But this is this for kids? Like kids won't get this. This is political humor.
It's not, I wouldn't say political humor. It's more like societal cultural commentary, but of course that encompasses politics.
Okay.
When I think of political humor, I think of those like one panels where everything's labeled to tell the joke, like, hey, here's look, it's President Trump or
Yeah.
something like that. It's not so I don't categorize it as political
Okay.
humor.
Cool.
But it does get a little political,
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the covers, you can kind of tell.
I bring up so this is I'll bring it up your campaign on Fund My Comic.
Cool.
Which, by the way, I love Fund My Comic.
Well, side note on Fund My Comic, that is the only place, at least this is our plan. We don't want to fund anywhere else. We're kind of idealistic people, and we don't like we're actually savagely anti-censorship. And so I just I can't bring myself to go on platforms that, censor. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate what Luke built over there.
Luke
And
is he states his rules and you follow his rules and his rules aren't ridiculous. His rules make sense. You
Yeah.
know, Mad wasn't for kids. I would say it was for teens. Well, teens or kids is fun. The older I get,
Yeah, right.
if you're 35 years and under, you're kid. I was just saying to Kitty before we went live. There was a girl apprentice. I'm lifting heavy stuff, and she's tiny little girl comes. Hey, how you doing? Can I help you? And I was just like, no. And in my mind, I'm like, this is like a 14-year-old kid. This kid shouldn't even be on this job site. And they're like, no, she's 25. I'm like, well,
Wow.
the kids look, but she gets points for asking to help. Nothing showing on YouTube. Oh man, is anybody else not seeing anything?
Really?
Anybody? Marcus, are you seeing this? I know Marcus is probably driving.
How is that happening?
I don't know. I think something's happening with StreamYard. StreamYard did like an update. Apex Comics, they're all like corporations with insane. Yes. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Indiegogo would you make a campaign on Indiegogo and then they wouldn't promote it and they would hide it. So unless you had a direct link, so a couple of guys that I'm very friendly with, I couldn't back their campaigns until they gave me a direct link. Now, I don't say you don't want to do business. And then Kickstarter famously jettisoned a few people for ideological, not because anything in their comics. I'm talking about comic books. You know what I mean? But Luke doesn't do that. Luke just doesn't want to see nudity. Like when you go to the page, he just doesn't want to see nudity or curse words on the front page. He goes, whatever you have inside the book, and that's fine. Sometimes it takes a minute or two to load up, Gordon. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. But
Well, hope you guys can see it now.
Yeah, they're saying that they can see it. So I'm looking at your campaign. So you can get 18 to 23 6-pack.
Yeah, I put those ones up there because so many people that back crowdfunding campaigns haven't met Flip City yet. So I put them at the top so people could catch up. Guaranteed, like that 6-pack is going to give you days of entertainment. Because
I'm just gonna ask, do you have all of your issues? Because I'm just hearing the first time. I mean, I've seen you around and I've heard the name, but this is the first time I'm actually seeing it. If I back, this is how I got it back right here because I got to get everything. Because
that's why I made that collector's pack.
Well,
so you can basically cobble it together by getting the collector's super pack and the 6-pack. And if you wanted every single edition, you would have to. You'd have to go to our website and get issue 16 and 17 as well. But everything's everything's listed in there, so you know what you're getting in every package. So that has like the collector's pack, it is valued at the 350 because I have 4 editions in there that we're not selling anywhere else outside of that pack.
Okay.
Where they were lower run, or they sold really well as individual issues, or we had higher subscriber counts, things like that. So we don't have that many of those 4 left.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love this right here because this art kind of reminds me of Mad Magazine. And I don't know
Yeah.
about you youngins, but Mad Magazine was everywhere when I was a kid. Like you went to anybody's house, if they had kids, there was a Mad Magazine somewhere in the house. Like if you turned on TV and the TV was about a family, some of the kids on the family, some of the kids on the show were reading Mad Magazine. Mad Magazine was everywhere. I am just amazed that it went from like every kid in America had Mad Magazine, or at least like I know in my house, my brothers would get it. They loved it. And then I would get it and then it was like the only like comic thing that just went all over. My friend would take it. My other friend would take it, and it got, by the time, like literally the pages were falling out of Mad Magazine. It's the only like comic magazine that I didn't collect because it was destroyed. It was just like consumed. And and there was, of course, there was Cracked magazine, like you say here, and then there was Crazy. Do you remember Crazy?
I do. Although I did not, I don't have any memories of actually ever looking at that one.
Yeah, Crazy was the least popular out of the 3. I think Crazy was the Marvel magazine, and Crazy always had like Marvel humor, like the Incredible Bulk, the Human Scorch.
Right.
It was the publisher, but it was funny because I always joke that it was like West Side Story gangs in my neighborhood. Like some of the kids like Mad and some of the kids like Cracked, and we would dance fight in the street over which magazine was better. And then you want to hear a weird story that has nothing to do with what you're talking about?
Sure.
My friend Scott's mother. Okay, I'll put this down. I'll bring this back. My friend Scott lived two houses away from me, and I wouldn't play with Scott because first off, he did the wrong voices when we played toys. We're playing Star Wars toys, and he would use a C-3PO voice when he was R2-D2, or Obi-Wan Kenobi would talk like Luke, and I couldn't play with him anymore, so I banned him from my house. But his mother was such a control freak. She had a subscription to Cracked, and for whatever reason, they would get 2. I think Cracked was trying to bolster the subscription rates, so they would send everybody 2, and they look for advertisement. And then every month she would call me over and be like, "John, here's Cracked," and she would give it to me, and she's like, "A week from now, I want to see that it's not beat up." So I would have to like read it, like, because I knew if it was beat up, she would go to Tommy and give Tommy the next issue. So for like a week later, I had to show her that I still had Cracked in like pristine condition.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Maybe she just helped you become a better collector.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're right. And here's we played Electronic Battleship. Do you remember Battleship? Before.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Well, we had a electronic version, and you program in one of your ships, and she would sit there and watch to make sure that we weren't cheating, but it was impossible to cheat because so she would just sit there like and watch,
That's kind of weird because doesn't she have things to do?
I don't know, but her brother was like a general in the Marines, so I just think, and she grew up on military, so I just think she had this like military bait, just I was scared of her.
Right.
I was like, I Crack magazine's got to fold it. I'm never gonna get another one.
Yeah. Hey, can you bring up Shadowpunk's question or thing?
Doing
because
comic skate mudslinging in a book like this would be fun. The more insult, this would be a place for comics drama,
So I do want to address this because we actually So I don't agree. Because that's so niche, except for we did do a 2-page thing of Ethan Van Sciver versus Ripa, and it's called Van Shyster versus Eyesore. And it's very, very funny. It's 2 pages. And apparently, because that's the thing, we don't know a lot about the Comicsgate drama, just that it is. And, and so we boiled it down to like the most basic thing, made jokes, and apparently, according to Mike Barron, he said that was a perfect parody of what is going on. And it wasn't mean-hearted. It wasn't mean-spirited, but it was a little bit spicy. Anyway, you can find that in volume 22 if you want to see what Flip City has to say about Comicsgate drama.
It's funny that you said that, because I immediately think, I try to stay drama free. A couple of people keep trying to draw me into it, and I'm like this close to saying something, and then I'm like, nah, it's bait. But it would be funny to address it in a humor magazine, like with little, style and panache. But at the same time, it is niche. Now that you made me think about it, like the guys at work, when I told them I was making a comic book, they were all excited. And these are normie guys. These are, guys who, when they were 12-year-old, 14, they bought Flash and stuff like that, got married and, have kids and whatever. They're like, oh yeah, I used to really love comics. So they were all excited that one of us was making a comic book. And they were all like, yeah, it should be about the construction site and all the goofy stuff that happens. I'm like, oh, great. So I could sell this to 14 people.
Right.
And they were like, yeah, you know what I mean? But they all got like right away, let's make it like, so we're small guys, you know what I mean? I got to make this so that everybody on the planet wants to buy it,
Right.
Well,
I
include stories about construction workers in a future issue, but that's not what it's going to be about. But you're right, though. A Comicsgate parody, yeah, that would sell to like upwards of 100 people,
Yeah. I mean, well, look at, Pencils Down did it, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's already taken care of. As far as I know, I heard it's a love letter to Comicsgate, but there's all kinds of stuff like that.
For everyone. They are, and everybody loves comics. It's funny because when I was telling my normie friends about making a comic, they were all excited. They're like, "Oh, I love comics!" We're talking guys that are like, crusty old guys, their backs are hurting because they've been working for 40 years. They just want to retire to Florida. And they're still like, oh man, when I was a kid, I used to love comics. And they still make them. And that was killing me when they still make comics. Like these guys, they haven't seen a comic book in 25
right?
years. They still
because the only place you see them anymore is in comic book shops. And if they don't have any reason to go in.
Right. Mike Barron said that nobody wakes up and just goes, you know what, I'm going to get into comic books and then drive to the local comic book store. Like,
yeah,
it's got to be like the drug dealer on the corner. Hey, you go, kid.
Yes. Hey, is that what crowdfunding is? We're the drug dealers, or no? That might be Global Comics is the drug dealer.
Yeah, it would be like those raunchy puppet shows about Eric July. Yeah, but who really watches them?
Right.
Let's go into a comic book store and ask people if they've seen these. It's literally like 1,000 people out of a nation of 270 million. You know what I mean? Like, yes, of course, my comic book sold even less. You know what I mean? But but who's gonna watch that?
All I gotta say, Shadowpunk, is if you want to see how many backers Comicsgate satire comic would do, go look at Pencils Down.
Yeah, you're right. And Justin's a good guy.
Yeah. And Justin, Justin promotes a lot. So that's what it'll do is what Pencils Down did.
Yeah. They do have a lot of backers, but I know EJ has a lot of backers. I haven't seen any backers in a couple of years for EBS. He hasn't had anything new in a while, so I don't know. I don't know if he was to release something tomorrow. I wonder how many backers, but whatever. I don't know. Do what you want.
Yeah. I'm like, stop bossing me around, Shadowpunk. Just because I went on a stream with you doesn't mean that you get to boss me now.
Pencils Down is as raunchy as the puppet shows.
Is it?
I don't know. He's got like an evil Phantasmagoria girl. She better not be raunchy. She's a sweet girl. I don't want to see raunch involved with Phantasmagoria girl. So,
well, all I know is she was pleased with her sexy dark angel. So,
well, I was going to ask you something. I got distracted. Oh, so Mike Barron said it was good. Does he write for you? Because he writes pretty funny. Have you ever read Florida Man?
I haven't picked up Florida Man yet. I need to because I'd love to see his comedy writing. Mike Barron. Mike Barron subscribes to Flip City Magazine, and on a stream of mine that he came on, he gave me that quote, and then he has DM'd other amazing quotes. Like he gives it 6 out of 5 stars, and like he just gives me like a lot of little quotes for Mike Barron, and it makes my heart so freaking happy because I know he's a well-respected name in the comic space. So I'm like, this is perfect for
Yeah,
crowdfunding.
great
And I
guy.
think Mike knew when he was giving me you know, these things because I'm an obsessive quote collector and it fucking helps sell magazines,
Yeah,
you know?
he, yeah, he messaged me. Give me your phone number. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm gonna get yelled at by and he calls me up. And we were talking about my comic pointers, things that I did good, things that I didn't do good, but Mike Barron calls me up, who am I? I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I was like taking notes, I grew up reading his comics,
He's a
I love Badger. I love Nexus, you know what I mean? And now that guy is calling me, giving me advice on my comics. So
He's a darling, darling man. Like I didn't realize when I first met him, I didn't realize like how freaking awesome he was. And just the longer I've known him and sees and hears what he does, I am blown away at like how helpful he is to
yeah,
all the indies. It's just like he wants to see so many people succeed,
yeah,
right?
yeah. We were talking about comics and he was just like, he goes, I want all comics to be good. And I've adopted that policy. I want all comics, even if I have a personal beef with Phil Moskowitz. Phil Moskowitz is the fictitious name who gets a lot of beatings in my, but even if Phil Moskowitz and I have a bad rapport, I still want Phil's comics to be good because why?
So are you telling me you beat up Jews?
Back that was the 40s. It was different. I'm that old, but Mike. First off, he's legit funny. Like Florida Man, I laughed because I like situational comedy. So I thought it was good. It wasn't like traditional comic book comedy is not funny. Like I don't know if you ever read ARG from Marvel Comics in the 70s or Not Brand X. It's just excruciating. Like and then DC had a couple of they're just not funny. But like Mike Barron wrote legit funny. So if he's talking about your magazine, I know I'm going to be spending $350 on a every time.
It's
Like I was saying yesterday,
I was like this.
you come on
I
my
was like this.
channel, it should be the other way around. You come on my
Well,
channel, you should be backing my book, but you come on my channel, I back your book. It's
that's exactly it. I see your name and I get dollar signs. I'm like, oh, I gotta go
yeah,
show John this.
like
He's a collector.
I was joking. If I lived by the train tracks, the hobos would have like those, those marks on my mailbox, like the hobos used to do. Like this guy's a soft touch. This guy. Yeah,
Oh, I don't think I've ever heard that.
yeah. The hobos, they had like a. It's funny because when I moved across the country, I would take trains and buses around the whole country whenever school was out, and people like, you're a hobo, like, okay, we got 3 weeks off school, $45 on the Greyhound, I could go to Seattle. And I would just live on the bus, go to Seattle, walk around, get back on the bus, go to Montana, you know what I mean? Instead of
That's
getting
so
hotel rooms, I would
cool.
just sleep on a bus and stuff. And then when I bought a car, I would literally just sleep in my car. I've never been to Montana. Go to Montana and just talk to people. Next thing you know, people inviting me to their picnics. I was just like that weirdo.
Well,
So
no, that sounds
my
like
friends
the
would call
way.
me a hobo. So I started memorizing the hobo symbols. You know,
Well, that's fascinating. I bet you had so much fun.
oh, it was so much fun. And Marcus Kellegrew, I wouldn't fight this guy. First off, I'm recovering from a broken neck. I'm not fighting anybody. So, hey, Ray, how you doing? Good to see you, Ray. I haven't seen you in a while. Yes, respect the Jews or a golem. It's funny that you said that. I'm like also obsessed with golems. That's just like people ask, what's your favorite monster? And everybody always says like vampires or werewolves. Golems are my favorite monster.
Oh, hey,
If they're even a monster, I guess they are a monster. They're a monster.
John, are you a conspiracy theorist? I feel
Oh,
like you
I
are.
don't believe them, but I
But
love
you love them.
yeah.
Okay, you have to come on my show because I have a conspiracy corner. We should,
Okay,
after we're done here, we'll book for you to
absolutely.
come
Yeah.
visit me.
My new favorite conspiracy theory is Tartaria.
Me
Oh
too.
my god. Like I don't believe it, but I freaking love it to the point there's I made up a character. I have a comic. We're working on a comic called Eddie is Doomed that it's slightly related to Heroic Tales, but it's about a kid who gets a kid. He's 35 years old. He has to move out of his father's house. His father's retiring. He has to go get so his world is ending. And then he goes to the comic book store and it's Crisis on Infinite Earth. So the continuity of his comics is ending. So everything is crashing down on him. Eddie is doomed. But one of the fake characters is the Caesar. So I was just like, yeah, he's like Namor. And then Oscar was like, okay, so Caesar. So he's like a Russian underwater guy. And then I was like, he's a Tartarian. So he's going to be quoting the mud floods. You have destroyed my undersea kingdom, So
Yes, that's gonna be awesome.
Batman is Jewish too.
This is my producer, Cosmic Grandpa, and my sidekick is Batman on my show.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I always thought Bruce Wayne was like nondescript Protestant, which is like a safe thing for comic book characters to be. Like Reed Richards is just he's Protestant,
No, my Batman is unsafe.
What's that? Oh,
my Batman is very unsafe.
Okay. Howdy.
Screwhead.
Great name. I remember that when they finally announced that Ben Grimm was Jewish, the thing. And I was like, I thought we all knew that. He's modeled after Kirby. He's the Gollum. I always, he talked like a guy from Brooklyn from the 40s. Cosmic Grandpa. We launched the multi-part Tartaria series on 3 Beer Men Sunday. Cool. I got to watch it.
I am so happy to hear that because when you said you were going to talk about it, you didn't, Cosmic Grandpa. And I was like, this isn't a Tartaria episode. So I will be sure to tune in the next 2 weeks.
So I play a role-playing game with a couple of buddies that I moved out here, and they're all retired cops. So they're just willing to come over and play role-playing games whenever they want. And my friend Roy, he made a character, and he's just like, yeah, Red Star is her name. He goes, yeah, she's from Tartaria. So I said, oh, what's Tartaria? And somebody else just laughed. It's a region in Russia. He just didn't want to get into it because Roy would gone off. So I was like, okay. So he would throughout the night. He goes, back in Tartaria, we invented, anything a bad guy did in Tartaria, we invented that 100 years ago. And I thought it was just a funny, but he was like, going off on the conspiracy of like the free energy and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what is this Tartaria? So he's like, oh, look it up, So I was like up till 4 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my God, this is my favorite conspiracy theory. Like, birds aren't real was fun, but Tartaria is good. I also love that the ice shields in Antarctica.
Oh yeah, that's part of that the flat Earth theory.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never got into the birds aren't real, but
Tartaria. I don't believe any of them, but I love that one because the people, everybody knew it was a hoax, but it was just how gullible are people. I got folders of mud flood matter of fact, when I went to Seattle, have you ever been to Seattle?
I have never visited Seattle, surprisingly, because I'm West Coast.
I'd go up there, back in my hobo days, and I'd went to Seattle, and I went on a tour of old Seattle. They have did you ever see that show, The Night Stalker?
No.
Kolchak, The Night Stalker. Well, it was in the 70s. He was like Monster of the Week. He was a reporter for like the World Weekly News with conspiracy theories with monsters and stuff like that. You would love it. But the pilot episode, he fights a vampire in the tunnels in Seattle. And the tunnels in Seattle is old Seattle in like the 1890s. There was a mud flood and it covered Seattle. So if you go to Old Town Seattle, like where all the brick buildings are, all the ground floors are the second floor. The first floors are underground because literally a mud came. So there are mud floods. And apparently there's a lot of places in Europe where the first floors are underground because
mud floods.
Mud floods,
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's enough to wipe out the greatest most advanced civilization that have ever existed, but it's still fun.
Yeah, well, what they did is for the people that didn't get wiped out is they took them and put them all in asylums and then stole their children. And what they did is apparently, this is a theory I've heard with Tartaria, is they took all the people that didn't get wiped out in the mud floods, and if they wouldn't go along with the new narrative, then they were put in asylums.
Oh, okay. Makes
That's
sense.
what I've heard.
What else are you gonna do with troublemakers?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Hey, Doc.
get
Doc
on
Blair.
board.
How you doing,
Hi,
Doc?
Doc.
Yeah.
I see that a few people are watching on my channel. Thanks, guys.
I
Remember to hit that thumbs up.
like, subscribe, all that stuff that I always forget to talk about.
Yeah.
I was out, I'm working. I'm a construction worker. I'm working at the airport. And one of the things that is good about my job is you're meeting a lot of people. One of the things that's bad is you say goodbye to a lot of people, and most of the time you don't even say goodbye. It's just like you go to work the next day. He's like, "Where's Tom? Oh, Tom got transferred at the end," and you never see him again. It's really sad. But one guy came in and I worked with him for 2 days, and one of the times I was just glad to see the guy go. But I had just came back from Iceland on my 50th birthday. My wife and I went to Iceland, and one of the things in Iceland is the two tectonic plates are spreading apart, and there's a trench forming. So over here is the North American tectonic plate. Over here is the European tectonic plate. So I was saying to my wife, I go, it's kind of sad that I finally get to go to Europe, but I'm still in North America. And the tour guide said, "Oh, come over here." And then we jumped, and he goes, "Now you're in Europe." So I was like, "Cool." And then we went down to the trench. He goes, "You're touching North America and you're touching Europe. That's how close." He says in like about 1,000 years, it's going to split so much that the ocean will come in, and then Iceland will be broken into two. But anyway, I'm telling the story
That's
at work.
really cool.
And the guy I'm working with is just like, "Can you believe that?" Like, that's how we started the conversation. And I'm like, "Yeah, I was there, And he goes, "Oh, interesting." Turns out he's a flat earther, and he was just like anything I said about Earth being round. He was just like, "Oh, CGI." Yeah. And he was just like I'll argue with anybody, but like I could just be like, "No, that's not true." No, I make a comic called Flip City. No, that's not true. You don't do that. That's CGI. You know what I mean? Like, you can't argue with
Right.
like that.
Well, didn't you know this is the Matrix? You're not making that magazine.
Right. So he heard me talking on the phone to another friend. I had a game night, so he showed up at my game night at a bar. Like, I can't tell him not to come. It's a public bar. So he comes in, sits down, and we're all playing board games. And he's just like, "Hey, John, this is it." So I'm like, "All right, we're playing board games." And he starts going. He had a couple of drinks, and he starts going on about the flat Earth. And my friends are nerdy guys, so they don't want to be confrontational. But one of my friends, he programs satellites for the Weather Channel. So he goes, "Oh, that's interesting." And he takes out his phone and he starts showing him. He goes, "Where do you want to look? Paris?" He goes, "What are you showing me?" He goes, "I work for the Weather Channel and I have access to the satellites, and I'm showing you feeds. Like, it's dark in Tokyo right now. It's it's sunny in Paris. That could only happen on a curvature." He goes, "That's all CGI." And it was just like infuriating. Like, so the next day we're at work, and he's also a Africa centrist, a black guy. Africa invented everything. The white man stole everything.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was just like, I'm just gonna annoy him the way he embarrassed me. So I was just like, "There's no Africa." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "There's no Africa. There's no such thing. There's no Africa. Have you ever been there?" Because I was just using all of his arguments against him. And he's like, he's opened up his phone. He's like, "The pyramids." He goes, "Those pyramids could be in Nebraska. I don't know. I've never been to Nebraska either." And he was getting livid. And then finally, at the end of the day, I go, "You see how stupid you sound?" And then the next day, I never saw him again. So that was fun. But anyway, I love conspiracy theories. I'll talk forever. Do you? Anything flat Earth is tough. I love those underground bookstores in Seattle. Yes, like literally underground. Like, you go to the I think it's Woolworths in Seattle, and you go to the first floor, underground, and the windows are all broken and everything like that. And there's like old rocking chairs and like a mannequin with like an old dress from like the cowboy times, because they just left it the way it was. Like, it's really cool. It's kind of spooky. And then they have wooden water pipes, and there's holes in the water pipes. They don't use them anymore, but back in old Seattle, the water pipes were wooden, and if you paid the water company, they would come and bore a hole and screw in a wooden pipe into your house. He goes, but then, homeless people or whatever, because it was underground, the bums, they would come and knock out holes, get free water, and then there would have to be a wooden guy put little plugs, and you'd have to measure the hole. It was a fun, big story.
Yeah.
Which has to do with Flip City.
See, and then that goes right back to like you being a hobo.
Yeah.
You can tell me more hobo stories.
Yeah, I'll tell you hobo stories. One guy wanted to set me up with his daughter. I'm on the bus talking with this guy for like 18 hours. He's like, oh, come meet my daughter. I was like, okay, yeah, Never happened though, but I just think it's funny. Guy wanted me to marry his daughter after sit next to him on a bus for 18 hours.
Wow.
So I said I'd bring up your comic again. So you make this 4 times a year?
Yeah, 4 times a year it comes out. It's about 60 pages every time. Our goal though is to get it up to like around 80 pages of content. But we're not quite there yet. But guaranteed pretty much 60 some pages every time. We have a format. We always open with a lead parody that's anywhere from 6 to 8 pages, and that's the most sequential art and comic booky you're going to get is our opening parody. This is going to be a really cool pull-out poster in the center of the book. That is something that you can look at for hours and find something new. It's one of those types of posters, and basically, if you kind of know what's been going on in our world and the culture, you're going to get a good amount of the references, but we're also turning it into a game and something that you can look back on in 10, 15 years and be reminded, because we're putting a key on the back of what certain things are. So, 10, 15 years down the line, you find it and you're with your grandchildren and you might want to show them how crazy the world was. You pull out this poster and say, these things really did happen.
Do you have the same art team and writing team every issue?
We pretty much have the same core. Okay. And then other people will cycle in and out. So like, for example, I was telling you about the Madness collaboration with the serial killers. Those are all brand new contributors for volume 24. But when you get down to the bottom, so we've got the world's most base contributors. These are the people over the last 5 years that have contributed the most to Flip City and are usually in every single edition.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Dave McDowell there in the lower left corner, he's the one that did the cover of the Taylor Swift.
Do you write, or are you just the editor or publisher?
I'm pretty much the drum pounder and business manager. So I am pretty much public relations and business. I do a lot of the finding and organizing and all this kind of stuff. And I'm the networker, but I also, and customer service. I'm pretty much the only one that talks to customers because I'm very, very good at it. Yeah. So those are my jobs. And I will occasionally write for the magazine or do layout and stuff like that. We're a husband-wife team. And so we both wear multiple hats and some of our duties cross over.
That's pretty cool. Let the writers and the artists do their stuff, and then you handle all the business, which is admittedly a lot of the crowdfunding stuff. Like, I'm not that good at business. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making a comic book. I'm like it or not, I have to be an art director now. Like it or not, I have to be a publisher. It's a lot of things I didn't realize I had to do when I started making the comic. I would love to have somebody else be my business guy,
I know. I keep telling my husband how lucky he is, and he knows it. And he says thank you, and he knows it all the time. But by the way, when you were asking about me doing stuff, I was meaning me personally. Scott, my husband, writes about 85% of the book and also illustrates in the book.
Okay, cool.
So it's not that we're just publishers or whatever. It really is his, it's his magazine. It's our magazine because I help too. But he has main editorial control of the entire thing and writes about 80 to 85% of any given edition. We take submissions, we do a lot of commissioning, and we've started to get more and more writing help. We're finding the people that we think are hilarious and kind of write in a style that we like to publish. And so that's beefing up over the last year, is our writing contributors.
Yeah, writing comedy is tough. I tried, and it's just not funny. At least mine. Mine is not. It's like it's all timing, and it's hard to get timing in writing. So
I think that is something, and I also tell Scott all the time, like how impressed I am with his comedy writing, because it's rare that you find something that is supposed to be humorous that is actually really all that funny. And like, for example, Doc Blaylock, he said this is the first printed material that's made him laugh out loud in more than a decade. And
yeah,
it's true, and we hear it all the time. People laugh out loud, and that's exactly what we wanted from Flip City, is like to be riotous.
to make a comic book that's legit funny, and to make a comic book that's legit scary are tough. Like I think he can make a comic that's like drama or exciting and stuff like that. But comedy and horror is all timing, and that's really, really tough. I'm trying to do some scary stuff in a future issue, but we'll see if it works. But I'm steering clear of comedy because I like to think I'm funny in person, but I don't think I could get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have so many more tools when you're in person. You have your body and your facial expressions and the tone of your voice and, all that kind of stuff that you don't have in written form. So
I'm trying to think of the last comic that legit made me laugh. I can't even remember.
Well, I can't wait for you to get that collector super pack so you can open some up and laugh.
Yeah. I mean, Mad Magazine, but that was a kid. What a shame. Mad Magazine I just remember, like, I think Mad was like one of the first victims of political correctness. Like, it just gutted their humor. They couldn't, if you can't be a little bit offensive, there's a difference between offensive and just like mean spirited and gross, but Mad was like, I don't know. I never believed that Mad, maybe I was a little kid and I didn't notice, but I never thought they took sides. Like, they made fun, whoever was the president, they made fun of. Whoever did that stupid, they made fun of. And and then it just like it became like inoffensive, like the political correctness. It got involved in it, and then they started doing reprints, and I knew that was the end. They just started reprinting old material.
Yeah, they hired young editors, bossing the old people around, and it just, started getting shittier and shittier for exactly what you said, political correctness. And that's why we had to do Flip City. It was something that broke Scott's heart, basically, to see how Mad and Cracked just got flushed down the toilet.
Yep.
And he realized that had to come back. And of course, I married my husband because he makes me laugh and multiple other reasons, but, I think a lot of women want a man to make them laugh, but I did not realize how funny he was until, 5 years ago when we started this. I'm like, holy shit, you're hilarious. But at the same time, he would probably bomb at stand-up. He would not be able to do stand-up comedy to save his life.
I did it once, and oh my God.
You did?
I'll try. I'm pretty brave about new adventures and stuff like that. So I did a stand-up, and everybody was like, "You're gonna be so good." Because I'm in the back room talking to people, laughing, blah 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 blah. And then I got on stage, and I was just the worst. Like I didn't even talk about it for like years. It was so bad, I felt like crying. It was so bad.
That's hilarious. I wanna just note that Fat Marker said Mad was awesome over on X. I'm assuming that's the Flip City magazine. X. Are you streaming to X?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know who it is. And do you know who Fat Markers is?
Nope.
Anyway,
a lot of new names lately. So thank you, all the new names. Yeah, I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and X.
Okay, fantastic. Well, fat markers, if you're still out there, check out Flip City Magazine, please. It's flipcitymag.com. And we have a live campaign going right now. And that's at fundmycomic.com/flipcity24 if you want to check it out and back us. We need help. We
Yep.
need help keeping the politically incorrect comic satire magazine alive. We're doing this indie, unlike, Mad, who had a lot of power behind it. We're publishing the new Mad independently. So help us. That'd be
Cool. Yeah.
cool.
It looks really good. I'm glad that there's stuff like this coming out. And I every once in a while I get embarrassed that I'm hearing about, because I've seen you around. I think we interacted on Twitter a few times, and I didn't know anything about this magazine until yesterday when you're like, I got a magazine. Really?
The internet is freaking noisy.
Yeah.
And that I don't ever fault anybody for not knowing what Flip City is, and why I love the opportunity to come on people's streams to talk directly to them and any audience people. I feel like it's the best way to get through to people on the
Yes.
internet, because they see your face,
They see how earnest you are, see, and then that's what I always do. Talk, have stream of consciousness conversation. People get to see who you really are. Like, I like this guy, or I like this girl. Let's back their book, and then hopefully they like the book and they want to stick with it.
Well, what's funny? I believe it was Doc Blaylock told me that a lot of people want to back you. It's less about actually what you're putting out. They want to back you. So you need to go out there and be charming or be nice, be yourself, da da da. And ever since then, when my campaign isn't doing well, it really hurts my self-esteem. And I'm like, people fucking hate me. Like, I'm not doing, like, what's wrong with me? So he's made me very insecure.
Two things I want to say. First off, my wife will sit like over here and listen to our conversation. She loves Doc Blaylock's voice.
Oh,
She's
it
like,
is
you gotta
great.
book that guy. That guy's got such a great voice. He should be like voice acting with that voice. Second, I know what you mean, and like I said, a lot of the guys at work, like, I think I got like 300 backers between Indiegogo, Fund My Comic, and Kickstarter, which I very grateful for my first campaign. But I got like another like 80 backers from guys at work. But out of the guys at work, they didn't read it. They just like the idea that and it kind of hurts my feelings. I'm like, oh, they made a big show, like, oh, could you sign it for me? So I take it out of the bag and I autograph it and stuff like that. And they did so a couple of days, like, what do you think of the comic? Oh, I didn't read it. I just wanted to support it. And I'm like, well, then I shouldn't have made a comic book. You know what I mean? I should have just, I should have just made a poster book or something. We're supposed to read it.
That's very funny. I have one subscriber. Actually, we've got a couple of subscribers. I've got one who's been with us since the very beginning. So he's been with us for 5 years, and we touch base about once a year. And he has never read a single Flip City, because what he's doing is collecting them for when his grandson is old enough to like understand the humor. And then he's going to open them all with him and read through them to remember the past.
That's sweet. Okay,
yeah.
that's sweet.
Well, what I did is I said, I'm sending you digital copies, so if you ever want to peek, you can.
You said you sell more physical copies than digital?
Oh, for sure, like 95%.
Now, do the people who get digital, they probably overseas?
I would say usually we do, because of the way our store is set up. I do get everybody's addresses. There's very few people that are in the United States that are have only our digital thing, because we also have a subscription for print and digital. And a lot of people like that because, one, they do want to collect their magazine, but they want to see the content without really having to ruffle anything up. And another reason is what's that?
I said, in case Mrs. Stecker is watching, the lady down the block.
Yes. International. And then it's also because from the time that we publish to the time of actually getting a magazine in your hands could be up to 6 weeks. So people that can't wait, like to get the digital so they can see what's coming to them in about 6 weeks.
Oh, I'm remarkably patient. I like if I back something, I never check the updates. It's really bad because a few times I forgot to like on Kickstarter, you got to fill out the survey, and I'm one of the worst people. Like,
Oh.
yeah, so I kind of hate Kickstarter because of that. But like, I just like it. Oh, a box showed up. Oh yeah, I forgot I backed this. It's kind of fun, you know. I'm remarkably patient. You know, it don't bother me. But
Cool.
but I also want physical comics. I don't want, you know, looking at this on the screen. This is one thing, but I don't want to read Tarzan on the screen. I want to pick it up. I want to be able to move, look around. You know,
Right.
you know, smell the paper. I don't know, but I guess young kids like digital. I don't know, guys. We got a lot of people watching. Do you guys like digital comics, or do you like? Yeah, that's one thing. My guest never gets to see the numbers. You know,
I know
so
that's a
whenever
bummer.
we get on somebody's channel, I'm always like, is anybody even watching this? You know,
Well, so how many people are watching us, John?
we just lost 3, but we were up
Oh,
to 72. We were up to 72.
really? That's pretty darn cool. Um, uh, damn. So you basically called them out and then they left.
Yeah.
You shine the spotlight on those 3
No, I
people.
was just asking. Do you guys agree? Do you like digital comics? Do you like physical comics? I'm pretty sure it's going to go. Yeah, Alex Johnson says I prefer physical comics to patience is a virtue. Yeah, like yeah, I know it. Like in the indie sphere, everybody's late books, and there's some truth to that. There comes a point when it is obnoxious about late books, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me. Like I think like it hurts the creator more than it hurts the fan. It's like because like you got to strike while the iron's hot. Like people are fickle. Like if they don't like it's in your best interest to make them like quarterly. Oh my god, I wish I could make my comic quarterly. That would be awesome. Oh, people like it, and then as soon as they like it, they put it down. They could go right to your website and order the next issue. You know that's awesome. But like you get a book, and then 2 years later, you're like, did I like that? You know, so you know,
Right.
I'm trying to speed up. I'm trying to speed up my production. I'm babbling. Oh, Alex Johnson already answered. Trump is banning digital.
That's a funny joke.
Yeah. Trump is banning digital comics. You know what I was going to say something that I shouldn't say.
Oh, just say it.
I prefer late physical books than early digital ones. Yes. A couple of guys that I'm very friendly with, they sent me digital because hey, John, here you go. You know, you're on my channel. Here's a digital copy. The comic's not coming out for 6 months. I hate to say it, but I never open those links. You know, I want the comic in the best pot. Like look at like Martin Scorsese. He's an old timer theater guy. He doesn't want to see a movie in a screen in his house. You know what I mean? He wants to go to the theater and watch his movies or the movies that he enjoys in a movie theater.
Right.
And if in a perfect world, I would go to every new movie I watch would be in a movie theater. You know what I mean? But you know, unfortunately, you go to a movie theater, people screaming, and it's $100. Because me and my wife, we get the Bavarian pretzel, we get the sodas that you got to move out of the way to watch.
You do movies right.
Yeah, and then we go to dinner after. You know what I mean? So
right,
we're just, you know, so I don't want to spend $100 to see like some like movie about like the prairie. You know, she got disease. You know, that's something you watch at home. You watch it. John Wick in the movie theater. But in a perfect world, if I had infinite money, we'd go to the movie theater every day. I love going to the movies. You know, even a bad movie in the movie theater is fun. But anyway, that's the way I feel about comic book. The comic book should be in your hand, experienced physically. It's a more active experience, yes.
Yeah.
I was not going to have digital comics, but a couple of guys were like, you know, I live in Ireland. I live in a couple of guys from Canada. Like, it's like $30 to ship to Canada. I shipped a comic to Warsaw, Poland for literally the same price to Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I can't have it. Let me guess, Mark.
Rates
Got to
again.
go to the bathroom. You know, that's the trick. You got to go to the bathroom. Even when you do, if you don't think you have to go, you go before the movie. Because once you get things in hand and you're at that urinal, you're going to go. You know, and then you can enjoy the movie. But if you just go to the movie theater, go sit down with your giant Diet Coke, and I have to sit there. I'll be in pain, like, because if I miss like 14 seconds of a movie, I gotta see it again. I didn't see I gotta see everything. I gotta see the opening credits, and even if there's no after credit scene, I gotta sit there through the credits. I gotta see who the gaffer was.
Good for you.
I never. I hate when people say, "Oh, I'm OCD," and you've never been diagnosed. But the more I hear myself talk, I'm starting to think I got problems. That undiagnosed problems. Did you cut the collars off your shirts as a little kid?
No.
You know what I'm talking about, right? The little tags.
Yes.
Oh man, you put a shirt on with a tag, and I was like, I was like paralyzed.
Jeez.
I would have to come and cut it off. Okay.
I might have maybe for like the stiffer ones, but it wasn't a thing.
I know it was great when I finally found like another friend that felt the same way. I was like, oh my God, and then again, I wouldn't play with Scott because he made the wrong voices for the toys. So I refused to, like, I wouldn't have friends over. I'm like, they're gonna make the wrong voices. The Human Torch doesn't act like that. You know what I mean? So I made a friend, this guy Sean, and he was exactly the same way. He couldn't deal with the tags, and we would play Star Wars. He would be over there. He was always the Rebels. I was always the Empire because they had the better uniforms. And I would play over here and he would play over there. And then we would shoot back and forth and have a war. But both our parents were like, okay, finally they're playing together. Even though we really weren't playing, but
right.
Like my mom's like, I'll take anything I can get with this kid.
That is hilarious. So you both were a little bit on the spectrum as kids and played in the same way, and he was cool.
Yeah.
With you, yeah.
We didn't fight over like Scott would come over. He wanted to be Darth Vader and Luke. It's like they're not on the same team. How many times are we going to go through this? Luke is not going to be casually walking around with Darth Vader.
Well, I have to tell you my Star Wars toy experience. So my brother, I swear he had every Star Wars toy. He got them all. And I always wanted to play Star Wars, but he wouldn't let me play usually because it was older brother, little sister situation.
Yeah.
But when he would, I would only get to choose one. And it was always Chewbacca because I love Chewbacca. And
I thought you were going to say Princess Leia, but
Nope. I freaking love Chewbacca. And when my brother was in a good mood, he'd let Chewbacca have a force field so he wouldn't die, so I could keep playing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Nobody wants Chewbacca to die.
Right. But he would. If my brother was in a bad mood, Stormtrooper killed Chewbacca, no big deal.
And I remember, so Star Wars came out when I was in 3rd grade, and I was one of the last kids to see Star Wars. So, this story, I got all the comic books before I saw the movie. And then when I saw the movie, I was like upset with my comics because they were different. They had the lightsabers with different colors, the boots, they had different boots colors. Then I was like, oh, that's how weird a kid it was. But I had all the toys. And again, I would meticulously put them up. Like I would take all the guns and little accessories, and I had little spots for them. My mother's like, I wish you'd clean your room the way you take care of your toys. I actually bought like magic markers if they got scuffs, and I would like repaint them so that
nice.
And then I gave all my toys to my little brother because like all of a sudden one day I looked at a girl and I noticed boobs, and I was like, toys. And
it was a switch.
Yeah, and I gave him all my toys. But then, like, with 6 months later, when I realized girls didn't particularly like me because I had Star Wars, hitting on a girl when you have a Luke Skywalker t-shirt on, it doesn't really work. So I wanted to go back to my toys, and my brother was like, he literally put them in the ground. I would be mowing the lawn years later, and what just hit me in the foot? And I'm looking, it's Chewbacca's head. He would bury them in the ground, and then they would get beheaded by the lawn. I'm like, you ruined all my toys, I want to say thank you to DC Miller. I hate Canada Post. Yeah, Canada Post gave me more trouble during fulfillment than Warsaw, than the Philippines, than Germany. More stuff came back from Canada than any other country. But I'd rather pay for physical shipping than digital. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Do you fulfill your own comics?
Yes. In fact, There was a short period of time. Our subscriber list was a little bit bigger, but the printer would fulfill for us. And then we decided just to get our own mailing permit from the USPS. And we started fulfilling, oh gosh, like 4 magazines. We started doing it ourselves. In fact, the very first one that we did it by ourselves, I did it all by myself. And by the end, like I'm like my fingers and wrist are like arthritic, and I complained to my husband, and after that he felt really bad. He's like, okay, we'll ship together. So it usually takes us to get through an entire subscriber list like 2 or 3 rounds of doing it, and then they're all out the door.
When you say rounds, like days, weeks?
A days, let's see, so if we're doing a shipping day for while we're working together, it's about 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so
You
like
guys got a machine going.
between the 2 of us, we've gotten
Yeah.
pretty good at it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, machines were
But that's the thing, like, we stamp every envelope with our address stamp that's branded. We have to, of course, label them, and then we pre-sort and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess it takes about 12 hours to get through
Do you
all of our
use like
shipping.
pirate ship or anything like that?
I use Pirate Ship for my past editions. I used to use stamps.com, which I kind of miss because you were allowed to do first class flats, and you can't do that on Pirate Ship. So you have to spend more on Pirate Ship. But the cost benefit analysis led me to, oh, I don't have to pay for a Pirate Ship like a membership, but you do for stamps.com. So
I use pirate ship, and I realized, like, because you could just hit that cut and paste, like, like, okay, Katie, Kittyflips, 116th Street, whatever, Queens, and you just cut it and paste it and put it in, and it would fill it out. But sometimes the country wouldn't change, and a couple of them came back. Like I shipped 2 things to England, but it said Canada because the one before it was Canada.
oh, that sucks.
You know what I mean? So, and that was like $30 just in the toilet. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh man, that was 3 comics. I just wasted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was going to say, if you ever use pirate ship, you just got to look, because it was fun because it would make like a little Indiana Jones line of where it was going.
Yes, I do like that about that.
I like that so much. It was, and now for 300 packages, every one of them was like, and I'd watch the but I guess I was tired or whatever, but I didn't notice that it went to England instead of Canada. But that's how I checked. I was going to give you a little tip, but you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? If it's supposed to go to Mexico, make sure that line's going to Mexico, from New York to, because I live in New York, you'd see that line. But a few times I just messed up. And one guy was just like, I didn't get my stuff. It went to Canada. It was supposed to go to Canada, but it went to England, sat in England for a month, and then took like a month to come back. I was like, oh man. So I sent them something else in the meantime. But that's pirate ship. But I was going to say, do you enjoy fulfilling?
Yeah, actually, basically I practice gratitude while doing it, because we do it a little bit differently because we're doing it through the we're basically sending out well, not basically, we're sending out periodicals. So we don't have to, it's a different system that you do through the USPS, where basically you prepare everything, take it in, and then because you have an account with them, they withdraw your postage from your bank account after everything gets in. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Yeah. I practice gratitude while I'm labeling. I try to look at every single person's name and be like, oh, thank you, John so-and-so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hawaii.
I remember that guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of time,
Well, yeah, that too, because we have several readers that I maintain regular correspondence with because they want to talk to me. And so when I get to their name, I'm like, oh, look, here's this person. That's cool.
I started out like, oh, I'm going to write like a little something on each Gemini mailer. That lasted about 4 boxes before I was like, this, I can't keep doing that. But I got to say, I enjoyed the whole, like, putting it in there, printing out the label, sticking the label on the box. I got like Heroic Tales tape that I'd use a sponge and, wrap it up and everything like that. And then I had a big pile down the hallway over here. And the first week was rough because I could only get to the post office on Saturdays. And then the guy at the post office, he was just annoyed that I'm showing up with like 100 boxes and stuff that so he said, we'll come to your house and pick it all up. I was like, really? So that was good.
Cool.
So, I'd put everything like right in front of the garage, and then he would come ring the bell. My wife would open up the garage door, and him and another guy would take. I was like, oh, wow.
See,
awesome.
That's the bummer for us. We don't get door service where I live. So I do have to take all that stuff to the post office.
I mean, I'm like strangely fascinated with the mail. Like I got to pay union dues tonight. Like when we're done, I got to write out my check for my union dues. You could do it online, but I just like going to the mailbox, putting it's definitely, like I said, my pet peeve is when people say they're OCD and they're not diagnosed, but I just love the idea. I write down this thing on a piece of paper, put a stamp on it, put it in this box. Somebody takes it, and brings it and think about it. It's only 44 cents to do that. That's really a bargain. Somebody will take this envelope and bring it across the country for 44 cents.
I think it's 60 cents now.
Oh, it's 60. Oh, screw that. I'm going online and doing it. But, and then I get my union card in the mail. I know. I love like, I don't know, just the mail service. You put it, but I like digital stuff. Go to Amazon and buy something. It's not as satisfying as writing it.
Yeah. Hey,
so yeah, again, I don't want to say it, but
because you're not diagnosed.
As I say it out loud,
that is very funny, because same thing with my husband. Like, I've told him multiple times, I'm like, you're definitely on the spectrum. He's like, we're all on the spectrum. And I'm like, actually, yeah, I lean more the ADHD route, but yeah, he does stuff like he can't ever really have his socks off. And I'm like, that's weird.
Like little weird things, like I can't get out of bed unless the clock is at a multiple of 5. So if it's
that weird,
if it's 8:43, I'm not getting out of bed till 8:45. But if it gets to 8:46, I got to lay in bed till 8:50.
Now, are you saying that is something you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally. So I set my alarm for 4:30, and I jump out of bed because I panic that it'll be 4:31 when I get out of bed. So like every morning it's panic. I got to get out of bed.
Okay. You got to tell me, because that's kind of weird. What do you think your weirdest on the spectrum, even though you're not diagnosed, thing you do is?
I was
like 50,000 comic books.
Yeah. And they're all alphabetized. They're alphabetized. I can't throw away a box. Like if the box rips, I have to tape it up because that box is just doing its best. Like the comics have neighbors, like Heroic Tales. Its neighbor is Bill Williams' comic Heroic Tales. That's good because Bill works. He's my letterer, so that's a good neighbor.
That's
and then
cool.
Behind it is Horace H. Hoover, is Fabrizio Aiello's comic. So I'm like, Heroic Tales, it's got good. He lives in a good neighborhood, and then I feel bad because I'm gonna make up like a comic,
Oh my gosh.
This comic is right next to this piece of crap Rob Liefeld comic, and I'm like, this guy lives in a bad neighborhood.
Okay. I knew we'd have a good time, but I didn't know that I'd want to reach through the screen and pinch your cheeks. You're so cute.
At work,
bad neighborhoods.
At work, if I have to do this job, I got to take out all my tools that I need to do the job and line them up, and the bottom of the tools all have to be in line.
So what do you do in construction?
I'm an electrician.
Oh, that's my dad and brother's trade.
So I'm an electrician. So electricians, we do a lot of different, like, I don't want to sound like hoity-toity, but electricians have a lot of more varied work than like the carpenters, construction carpenters, it's mostly sheetrock. The brickies, it's building brick stuff. But the electricians will put in solar panels. Will literally be digging ditches. So every day it could be different. So we got a big tool bucket of your personal tools. So it's like the boss has to say, today you doing this. So I go get all my tools, and then when I get to where I'm working, I put them and I look at them. Okay, so I need the 3/8 socket set. I did, you know what I mean? And then I put them back in the same, and then people get mad at me because I spend so much time, but I said, you could throw them in a box and you spend 20 minutes looking for that one particular. And then if I don't have the one particular tool, I get so mad at myself. oh, I needed a unit bit and I forgot to get a unit. Ah, you know, it's just stupid. You know, but you know what funny thing is, all the electricians that I know have some sort of ritual about their tools. So that's not that bizarre.
That's funny. Next time I talk to my dad, I'm gonna ask him if he has some kind of
Oh,
ritual.
I bet he does.
He's retired now, but he went and helped my brother on a job recently, so he put his bags on again, and apparently it killed his hips because he hadn't worn them in a couple of years.
My hips are killing me. Oh my god.
I know. How much longer do you think you're going to be doing it?
I'm 56. You can retire at 55 and 20. So you have to be 55 years old and have 20 years. So I could retire because I'm 56 and I think 21.
Okay, so you're union,
but I
then?
live in New York. So
Okay.
I'm union. So I live in New York and I just bought my house 4 years ago. So I get a pension, but I think I'll lose like so much pension. Like I think 62, you get a full pension. So every year, so you're eligible at 55, but nobody retires at 55 unless I take that back. One guy I worked with, he worked literally the year he turned 55 was his 20th year, and he retired and he sold his house and he like moved to Alabama. And he's like, I don't care. You know, I'll live in the cheapest state. He goes, I don't like people. I don't like my neighbors. You know, and he goes, I'm just going to go and paint. And he was gone. You know, so if I don't know,
We'll see, because that's the other
YouTube thing. I could do this from Alaska, but Alaska's expensive. You know, so maybe I'll live next door to him in Alabama.
I didn't know Alaska was expensive.
The cost of groceries and everything like that. Like,
Okay.
I think you can buy a house cheap, but like everything's imported. So
Right. So cost of living.
my wife wants to move to Alaska. I if I could afford it, I'd move.
Wow, I've never considered Alaska.
I can't deal with the cold, but I don't have to leave my house. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we go food shopping, you know, once a week or something like that. That's it.
Right.
I'm not a farmer. I don't have to be outside. I could do that.
Oh yeah. Hey, John. Also, I just wanted to give you a word of warning. My show starts in.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm talking too much. Yeah, I don't have to.
No, I'm not. No, it's not that. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I'm going to have to hop off in like 5-10 minutes.
Sure, whenever you want. Yeah. So anyway, I babble way too much. So anything that you didn't get a chance to say, anything you want to say, and I'll bring up your campaign again.
Well, number one, I'm super duper excited that you're going to be going and getting that collector's pack when it suits you. So that is cool. Anybody that wants to back the campaign, please do so. You can do that at fundmycomic.com. Look for Flip City. I believe we are a featured project right now. But if you want a direct link, it's /FlipCity24. I love that Fund My Comic lets you choose your ender. So every campaign we're going to do is going to be Flip City 25, Flip City 26.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's funny because mine, I was happy with it. It just says Heroic Tales. It said Heroic Tales 01. So I thought that was like, you know, I didn't know I could choose it, but that's what I would have chosen anyway. So I just thought it was a happy coincidence.
Oh, one other thing too, John, and I know you don't know this because you haven't looked at her website or anything. For anybody that doesn't believe me when I say this is a very, very hilariously savage piece of print media, we do have a free sampler on our website. So you can go to flipcitymag.com and check us out first. And I make it very obvious on the homepage how to get to the free magazine. It says read for free. And it has flying buttons and all this, so you don't miss it. So if you want to check us out first, you can do flipcitymag.com, look at the free magazine, laugh your ass off for free, and then go back the campaign. Have Fund My Comic.
Get this magazine for free. You can't miss that.
Yeah, that's our parodies special edition, which we're printing at the end of the year. Okay. It's only digital right now, but we've been doing so many parodies over the years that we're like, you know what? This is going to be our first special edition, is the parody magazine.
Oh, right. Yeah, read for free. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So let's.
Yeah, it takes a second for that to load. So you can read our simple sampler directly on our website. And if you want more for free, you basically exchange an email address for the full super sampler. Cool. So, yeah. Oh, that sucks that it's taking forever to load.
It could be my internet.
I'm blaming you for
Yeah,
sure.
blame me. I'll take the blame.
Okay, cool.
That's why I always tell my wife, let me be the bad guy when she doesn't want to go someplace. I go, tell him I wouldn't let you go.
Yeah.
I'll be the bad guy.
I really love that little add-on to our website too, because it's a flip book. So, you actually get the magazine flipping pages and the sound and all that silly stuff like that. That
Yeah.
makes me happy.
Did you guys build this website too?
Okay, so it's done through Wix. We did hire somebody that's familiar with like user experience to do the format of the website. And I'm so glad we did spend some money there because it's super easy to update and just keep the format, for the user experience. Because the first one we did was not great.
Somewhere down the line, I'd like to do a long box comics website, but I only got one comic, so it's easy just to go to Fund My Comic and go there, But when I'm at 24 issues, I would like to have my own little spinning website and everything like that. Yeah, StreamYard. There's something going on at StreamYard. Everybody's saying that there's problems. And thank you, Cosmic Grandpa. Great guest on Long Box. Not a great host, just a guest.
Yeah, just me. He has to say that because I don't pay him to be my producer.
Oh.
So he's probably hopping in going like, Christy, we got to show TikTok.
So anything you want to say? I know you got to get out of here now. I didn't realize, sometimes I talk so much I didn't realize it's been an hour and a half.
I know you're like talking so much. You're not letting me compliment you.
Thank you so much. Compliment me. I ain't gonna. I can't. I'm an Italian Catholic from New York. We can't take compliments.
Okay, well, so John, this was a really shitty show, and I had a terrible time. You jerk.
Yeah. Have you met my brothers?
Huh? Thank you so much for having me on. And let's, if you're gonna end the show now let's if you want, we can book something for you to come on my show.
Sure.
Backstage.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Right.
Let's do that. I'm gonna do the end. It takes like 2 minutes of like an ad for my comic. Okay. If that's too much, just hit me on Twitter or whatever. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. It was a lot of fun. Bye. And tomorrow, I don't know what I'm doing at 7:00. That's my normal slot. I might just talk about comics that I read. I got a huge stack. But at 8:30, it's clobbering time. Open invite, meaning anybody could join in, and we talk about who's going to win a comic book fight. Tomorrow it's the Winter Soldier versus Deathlock, and I know who I'm rooting for, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the person that's going to win. So we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.